So yeah, let's just jump right in. So the last time that we heard from you was the Waiting Room mixtape in
Right.
2016,
Yeah.
and you stepped away to be a full time pastor. And so, what's happened since then? What's the down low on that?
Well, I mean, the funny thing is about the waiting room to now is like I didn't with that one, like I didn't even mean to step away. You know, like the waiting room was meant to be even the reason why I called it that was it was meant to be like here, let me give you something while you wait for the next record. I was in a good place creatively. Wanted to put something out because, I put something out 06, 08, 2010, 12, 14. So I was like 16 about to go. And um and it ended up being a project that I was really that I was really proud of and I saw a lot of fruit from. And I thought I was about to follow it up with another project. Of
Mhm.
course, we make plans, they don't always turn out that way. And so
Right.
since then, I've been there've been some, I moved to Dallas and have been, this is where I grew up, and so that's been
Yeah.
cool to be back in my hometown, and have
Yeah.
been pastoring here at the church where I met Jesus, and my mom's still a member, um, and yeah, my health is always up and down. My energy has kept me from being able to like get music to the finish line like I wanted to.
Mhm.
But I'm in a new season now where I'm not pastoring anymore, really just because of my health and consistency there. And so I'm back giving more attention to music. And it's an interesting place to be because it's not like I don't know, it's not like a fallback, oh, I got to do music now. Because
Yeah.
it's something that, I've never lost my desire to do. Sometimes when I like drop a random song or something, even my friend Lecrae will be like, "Oh, how you keep popping up and still being good?" And the flows current. And I'm like, "What? Y'all forget." But I was like 6 years old when I met you, so I'm still a young man. I still got it. Nah, but so I'm excited to get to give more time to it because the creative drive hasn't changed at all. And yeah, I'm excited for new music.
Yeah. So I know the truth though. Like you say that you're stopping being a pastor, but you mean vocationally because like
That's right.
once you're a pastor, you never really stop being a pastor,
That's right.
right?
So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean um and for me it's like in the same way with like music, nothing changed. For me, nothing has changed in terms of my desire to love people, help people to grow, help people to know Jesus more. To I love the church. I love the local church. It's very important. I've dedicated so much of my life to it even before I was pastoring. So that part of me hasn't changed. I'm preaching at my church this Sunday, actually. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And so you were in Atlanta, right? Atlanta,
That's
and
right.
then you
Yeah.
went to Dallas. What was that like to come back home like that? Go back to the church, like you said, that you found Christ.
Yeah, I mean, it was really dope. There's things that are weird about it, like going back to somewhere you haven't lived as an adult. Honestly, it's
Right.
like I live in the same house. I lived in the same house from born to when I graduated high school, went to college, and then I lived in Philly, and then I lived in DC, then I lived in Atlanta, then coming back. Um, it's like a time. It was like a time warp. At first, it's like, oh shoot, like going to a grocery store. I've been to all of that. um, but man, it was amazing. In a lot of ways, felt like coming home, even being at the church for that I was so grateful for, and yeah, it was good, and get to be near my mom, my kid. There was a lot
Yeah.
that's really dope about it, where it all started for me, and I love that. And
Yeah.
as soon, around the time I got here, the Cowboys started to be good again. The Mavericks, you know what I'm saying? We got Porzingis, and so I'm not saying it's because of me, but I definitely didn't hurt that situation.
Yeah, yeah. So are you a Rangers fan then?
I am a Rangers fan. No, I don't keep up with baseball like I used to. When I was real little, baseball was my favorite sport. When I was a little kid, it was my dad's favorite sport too. So I was definitely a Rangers fan, and I do really like baseball. I just don't keep up like I used to.
You just got the Yankees hat on today just for the aesthetic.
Look, the, the Yankees hat is the best logo. Just objectively, it looks the best. It's very
Yeah.
clean. It's classic. You know, um, So yeah, people often will say something to me like, "Oh, too bad our guys aren't doing too well." I'm like, I don't know what the Yankees doing. Honestly, I haven't paid attention, and I'm not a Yankees fan. I don't hate the Yankees, but it's just
Yeah.
it's a good hat, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So talk about the new stuff you've been doing. You just so you've dropped two singles now.
That's
Um,
right.
you got it and Supernatural. You both with visuals along with them. So there's a lot to unpack there. But yeah, just start
Yeah,
talking about new stuff and I'll interject if I think of anything.
yeah. I mean, the You Got It came out on the summer playlist, the very late summer playlist that Reach put out this year. Which I was really excited about. It was really dope. I mean, a lot of really dope music on it. I was excited to get this one out. The song was song that idea I had for a long time, and you know, there's a spot in the Gospels where Jesus is talking about communion and eating his flesh and drinking his blood, and people roll out, and disciples, and he looks at the disciples like, "Well, are y'all gonna leave too?" And they say, I mean, where else can we go? You have the words of eternal life. And every time I read that, it hits me, it strikes me. And so, yeah, so I wanted to make a song along those lines. Like, where else can I go? The things that I need most, what my soul needs, there's nowhere else for me to go to get that. And so, in the verses, I'm kind of playfully talking about stuff I could do. Might give me a beamer, might like throw a charity benefit, keep all the money. Might like do pretend I'm a gangster, stuff that a lot of it being like typical rapper stuff too. But then at the end of the day, being like, but what I really need, there's nowhere else for me to go to get it. So I was excited and got to do the video too. And then one reason that song was special too is it was the first song that I put out that I produced too.
Oh
And
wow.
that yeah, and me and my homie Michelle, we produced that one. As I started producing in the past few years. It started very strange. I didn't think it was going to lead to this. I was just trying to write some different kind of songs, and I was like, well, I guess I should learn how to play at least some chords. If I just don't want to wait for people to have to send me something. So I started learning that and started learning keys a little bit. I was like, oh, what if I did this? And it just kind of led to me producing. And so I was able to like start songs without having to wait on nobody to send me nothing.
So
And
you
so it
never
was
were an instrumentalist before? You never played anything before?
no. I mean, I made beats on FL when I was a little kid. They
Okay.
were terrible. And I had the demo version, so you couldn't even really save them right. But um, now I wish I would have. It feels dumb now. Maybe if I would have knew music was my career, I would have. But but in another way, I'm such a lover of music, not just hip hop. That yeah, it's like a new way for me to enjoy music, to be able to play some stuff. And don't get me wrong, like I'm not Robert Glasper out here. I'm not, don't get it confused. But it's a new way for me and it's a new creative space. It almost feels in some ways like it did when I was in high school, learning to rap for the first time, where it's like, oh, what if I tried this and I could do this? And it's just like fun things to learn and explore as I'm creating. So it's put me in a dope place creatively. And so A&R Reach, AC hooked me up with Michelle as I was just working on some stuff, and me and him have worked on a lot of stuff together. So You Got It was one that I produced, and he added some stuff too, and then Supernatural that we put out today. Me and him co-produced that, and Juice Bangers he added a little some sprinkled some seasoning on it too, and yeah, I'm really excited. It makes his new stuff feel a little bit even more special to me. So
Yeah, that's super dope. So now I'm making kind of a connection because in the visual of Supernatural, there's a guy learning how to play the organ.
he's right.
Is that anything? What was the purpose of putting that in there?
Um, that was not tied to me producing. And there's some stuff in that video, and it says to be continued at the end that I want to leave open to interpretation
Yeah.
without over explaining, because I want people to enjoy that one and the ones that are coming next and all that.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so time frame. You stopped music in 2016 ish, and so now you've got new stuff coming out. How long have you been writing these new songs that we're going to hear on the new project? Is it just recently, or is it stuff you've been working on for like a couple years now? and you're just now
So,
finally putting it all together?
so here's the thing. You know, I have a folder on my phone of songs, and this is not a fake. Like, it's just a lot of stuff. And but the cool thing is, I was just in a good place. Straight, I was just making stuff for fun. I was not trying to work on music to release. Um, I was just making music for fun, and because I was like dabbling with production, it was like trying something new every day, and so that's kind of where it started. So yeah, it's some stuff is like a couple years old. Some stuff I wrote super more recently. Some stuff I took and changed. It was like, oh, I thought this was dope. It wasn't, but there's a seed of something good in there.
You
Yeah.
were just so
So
ready to pull out that your phone and show me all your files?
my phone was just sitting here. It just happened to be. But whenever I'm working on stuff, I just like it goes in my and so I just have this folder of bounces that just have all this random stuff, and I'm like, man, someday I need to, because there's so much stuff I don't even remember. But it was just like I'm just in a good creative place, and then I'll just hold on to it and see if there's something to it later. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right. So, yeah, so you got this new project coming out. Like, can you give us a hint at anything else? Are you gonna be reproducing most of the stuff on there?
Well, I haven't said I have a new project coming out,
Oh, my bad.
but no, no, it's cool. I mean, I have. There's definitely more music. There's more music on the way.
Okay.
I say that for sure, and it's a I am producing a lot. So because a lot of the songs I've been working on, I just started them, and then honestly, I was like, I don't know if this is good. I'm not a producer. It sounded cool to me, and I've been. That's the other thing about the pandemic is it was like, you're not allowed to go anywhere. So, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So even like pastoring, it was like I'm still at the crib, so so and I was just having a good time. So I was just making a lot of stuff. And I had health challenges during that time too. So my health is up and down. And so I'm at the crib a lot. And so I was just making lots of stuff. And then I'm like, I don't even know if this is good. So once I'm like trying to at least work on some music, and I link up with my shell, and I'm like, is this even good? He's like, oh, this is dope. All it needs is a little da da da. And the stuff that I've been vibing to, he vibe with too. And I like I'm not really interested in just making stuff I've already made or stuff that already exists. Now, whether or not I always succeed, that's another question. But I'm like, I'm very bored with just putting some random stuff out. I'm like, I want to have something to say. I want to go somewhere different creatively. I want to put something into the world that isn't there already. And he was on the same vibes with me. Sometimes you can work with somebody and be like, man, what if I was listening to this like I'm in a little psychedelic rock phase. I was listening to like some random like Pink Floyd stuff, and someone can be like, I don't know, that's weird, but he wasn't like that. He was all the weird stuff I mentioned. He was on too, and so I feel like we're able to make some cool stuff. Yeah, so I think it's some cool stuff on the way, and I'm producing a lot and working
Okay.
alongside others, and it's fun. It's exciting.
So you're not definitively ready to say that you're gonna have a project dropping, but you've
That's
got
right.
Supernatural is to be continued, so it's gonna be
That's
connected
right.
to something else. Okay.
There's definitely more music on the way.
Okay,
Yeah,
dope.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And
So
there's a lot of music done. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's not like the waiting room waiting.
yeah,
It's like no, there's more to come.
okay, that's good news.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
so what was it like? I know personally as a pastor, there's just a daily grind of like pastoring, working at a church, trying to meet people's demands, kind of being on call with life and like
yeah,
people relying on you for a lot of support, wisdom, prayer. There's a lot of overextension of yourself. And so for you specifically, like you deal with fatigue.
yeah,
Can you talk a little bit about what that's been like for you?
yeah. I mean, um, my health is the hardest part of every part of my life. So you name part of my life: work, my spiritual life, relationship with God, my marriage, parenting, whatever, friendships. Um, it's the hardest part of every part of my life because it's very hard to be consistent. It's hard to plan well because my energy is so up and down and random. And doctors don't understand my illness very well. And sometimes there's some new thing that shows up in my blood. It's very unpredictable, and so that can certainly make it hard to pastor, which is a um, you know, when we're pastoring, we want to be very reliable. We want to serve people. For me, like pastoring is not just like standing on the stage and saying true stuff. It's also like being in people's lives, walking with people. It's funerals, it's weddings, it's marriage counseling, you know, um, it's let's grab coffee. So yeah, and it means a lot to me. Church means a lot to me. Pastoring does, and so it's hard to not be able to be as consistent as I want to be. And so yeah, I mean, I think in this season, it seems like it seems more faithful for me to give more of my time to music and continuing to serve people creatively. So
Do you
yeah,
find that the two worlds can kind of meet, like in your artistry when you're around other artists, that
yeah,
some of that pastor side shows up in you? Like, do people rely on you in those ways, or do you see those people as just your friends, like your artists at Reach or whoever you're working with at the time?
yeah. It's both. Um, like I don't, I don't, I don't like when people like, um, oh, shut up. Oh, sorry, Pastor. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want people to like, oh, I'm interacting with a minister right now, not my homie.
Yeah.
So yeah, so there's that. But also, I think pastoring looks most faithful when it is not like a profession we pursue. I don't know, against who we actually are as a person, what we're actually passionate about. But it is, I love people. I love the church. I love scripture. I love walking with people, and I can serve other people in this way. So yeah, so I think it's both. I try to live my life in a way where I am encouraging and walking alongside people. And often I work with people or spend time with people, and yeah, and it's helpful for me to kind of help shepherd them and teach and learn alongside. And other people is even with just more peer relationships. When your homie
Mhm.
has a particular strength, you lean into that. I got
Right.
friends who are yeah, who have keen insight into relational things, and it's just my friend. It's not like my counselor, but I'm like he gives wise advice in this area. So I'm like, hey,
Mhm.
I know you think well on this. Any thoughts for me? And so yeah, it means more to me when people I'm close to um, respect me in those ways than people who don't really know me that well, because
Right.
I just don't. I don't want to be the dude who is like everyone from far away is like I'm so blessed by them, but the people closest to me are like he's fine. You know what I'm saying? It's like I yeah, I want people who are close to me to be like, no, well, he is who he seems like, or at the very least, yeah, I know who he is and who he seems like he is that, and there's some areas he can grow, and I've seen him repent and apologize. And I'm not saying like I want people to see me as perfect or something, but
Right. Right.
I don't want to present myself as anything I'm not, and I don't want to only be encouraging the people who don't know me well. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, so talk more about Supernatural. You feel like it was well received? I know you've been where you just did IG live like today, like a couple hours ago.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Nah, yeah, I feel like it's been well received. It hasn't even been 24 hours. But yeah, I mean, I've been encouraged. It seems like people enjoy the song. There was a lot of like, should I put this one out or that? And I'm happy
Yeah.
with the one we put out. And yeah, it seems like people are rocking. They getting the feel behind the song. People enjoying it. Happy to hear me back on music, and so I'm excited. And I'm very happy with the video. I tend to have like I tend to be very particular with the way I want things to happen, whether it's video, vibes, production, all of that. And so I'm very happy with but yeah, the cover, and more stuff on the way. So yeah,
I feel like both of these singles that I'm talking with you about today, they're written similarly. Like in
yeah,
Supernatural, you're like, I wish I could do this. I wish I did that. Like swapping out Dr. Pepper with liquor. Was
yeah.
there? Is that the why you put the two songs out, because they're kind of like Because in the other one, you're talking about you're going to put up a front like you're all this, this, this. This one's more like trying to heal people. I feel like they kind of talk to each other, these two songs.
I didn't think about it like that in particular, but I see what you're saying. You know, I want to be able to have many different angles and ways to talk about true things. You know, I don't
Mhm.
want to be a one trick pony. You know, I want to be able to talk about important stuff in a lot of different ways. Sometimes lighthearted, sometimes serious, sometimes emotional, sometimes I yeah. So yeah, so this one, you know, is it's a kind of song I've wanted to write for a long time, and it kind of took form a little differently than how I imagined how I wanted to write this kind of song someday. But I'm really, really happy with how it turned out.
Well, I really appreciate the creativity and the performance too, because you got like some melodic waves in there. You know, like
Yeah,
you sound modern. I mean, you kind of had like a modern sound to you always, but like
yeah,
this just is it fits with like it doesn't sound like oh Trip Lee from 2006 just like copied and
yeah,
pasted this into this year.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it just fits naturally. Like I really appreciate it. It's really dope.
yeah. Thanks, bro. And you know that takes work. You know what I'm saying? It's like hip hop changes more than other art forms. There's a lot of waves, and you know, and so in some ways you got to learn how to write, be lyrical all over again with the way that with how flows shift. Stuff's more you know, the stuff that changes, and I work hard at trying to. Yeah, I don't want to sound, you know, like just me from, you know, last time I put a record out. I want to keep evolving. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun too. Yeah.
So I know in the past you've been known to write some books. So like I only got the Good Life book so that I could get the remix of 116. Um and I talked
forgot.
to
I
I was in
forgot that
a
that was even a thing.
that song goes crazy. I
Yeah.
actually quoted it. We did an interview with Canon on Tuesday. And
Yeah.
I did this segment where I was trying to I quote his lyrics to him and see if he can quote them back to me, and he couldn't remember that song at all. But it was really funny.
I forgot he was on the remix. That's dope. That's a fun one. Yeah.
But do you have any inklings of writing again, like that, like a book?
Yeah, man. I love to write. And I have a book that is extremely overdue. My publisher's been very gracious. It's about identity that you know I'm hoping to wrap up pretty soon. So we'll see. But I love writing, you know, music and books and preaching. You know, the stuff I do. The way a lot of this happened for me is I've been very impacted by those things, and I've thought if I can serve people the way I've been served by those things, I'd like the opportunity to do it. And I've tried and, you know, tried to learn from others and figure out how to do it well. And so I love writing. I'm a reader and, you know, of all kind of stuff. And I love words. I love communicating truth. And yeah, I want there to be more stuff that's like, in the world to communicate true things. It feels like me. It feels like the people who love my music. It feels like the people who are my peers. And so, if I can do it well, I want to try. So yeah, I have a book project in the works, and hopefully I can finish that up soon.
Okay, dope. Yeah, you
Yeah,
talk about identity, and that reminds me, like, I'm trying to put myself in your shoes. So I'm a musician and a pastor, and I've all often thought like what if God takes my voice away or something, and then
yeah,
like I have to move on to some other vocation?
yeah.
Is there anything in you that like whenever you said you're quitting hip hop and you're just going to be a pastor for a minute, was there anything in you that like, man, my identity is so tied to what I was in hip hop, like it's really hard for me to wrap my head around this journey of life, this part of my life.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I remember one time when I was on staff of the church, and I had, you know, so I was doing a lot. I had to say no to a lot more stuff, and I remember there was a tour that I couldn't do. Everybody else was doing. I just remember I was like looking on my social. Dang, this looks like a blast. You know what I'm saying? And but man, you know, we all have our own struggles with. our identity, the stories we tell ourselves about who we are. And so we'll be like, oh, I am this person who does these things at these times in this way. And when that shifts, of course, like even if we know I'm not what I do, it can still be a struggle. And so for sure, and even with, not being able to pastor in this season, same thing. Uh, but one thing that happens for me, that the Lord has worked in me with having a chronic illness is, man, it's just I want to hold stuff with an open hand because everything feels like a mercy from God. There's nothing that's like, oh, for sure, absolutely. In James, when James is like, oh, you saying like tomorrow I'm gonna go to the city and do ABC. He's like, you fool, your life is a vapor. Like you don't know if you're gonna be around tomorrow. Instead, you should say, if the Lord wills, I will go and do this or that. And so sometimes Christians will, say Lord willing. And it's like a nice thing to tag on and stuff. And we don't think about what it means, like amen. You just say it. But for me, that means something very like Lord willing is very real to me. It's like so many times it seems like, oh, of course I'm gonna do this because I see this leads to this and this, or like, yeah, I'm gonna get up at this time and do this. But none of that feels guaranteed to me whatsoever because my body quits on me at random times. It's not sure, and that's not to say that my reality is that different from other people's. Like we don't know what's gonna happen, but because my weakness is in my face all the time, it's clear to me. Like Lord willing is so. So yeah, like what that means for me is whatever I get an opportunity, what the Lord will allow me to do, I've just had to be very open handed because there've been a ton of things that I'm a dreamer and there've been a lot of them that I just haven't been able to do because of my limitations, especially in the past several years. And so it's just like, here's what I desire, here's what I'll go after. And Lord, whatever you'll do is what you're gonna do. If you will allow me to do this and I can be happy and holy and enjoy my life and be a good dad and husband and love people, like whatever you'll give me, Lord, I'll take. And I just want to try to be as faithful as I can. And that's the perspective that I want to have and that I have more of and that I want more of because I don't want to make it seem like I'm always just like, yes, Lord, this is great. Trust you. Who cares if this is hard? That's not how it is.
Right.
I got weeks where I'm better at seeing things how they are, and weeks where I struggle more with just being discouraged and feeling like everything doesn't go right. It's something in the way of what God wants me to do, as opposed to the way that God has given me there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's good. Thank you for your perspective. Yeah, worship
Yeah.
starts from sacrifice and surrender.
Yeah.
And so like
Yeah.
for you to like arrive at that at the end there where you're just like, I'm just open-handed, at least try to be the best way
Yeah.
that I
Yeah.
know how. That's
That's right.
a good perspective to have and for people to see because like I said, I feel like a lot of times people can get caught up in their identity being what they do rather than just being in
Right.
Christ. And so
Yeah.
yeah,
That's right.
thanks for that.
And the most important thing about who we are is not something that can be taken away. We are made in the image of God. That's where our worth and value is, and literally nothing can change that or take that away. We like stuff about us. The most important thing to be like, what's unique about us? Like, oh, I'm good at this or that. I look like this, but it's like really the most important thing about you. You're made in the image of God. You have worth and value in that. There's literally nothing that can change that. And if we know Jesus and we're purchased by the King, we in His family. No one can snatch us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
preach.
Yeah.
Was there anything you wish
Yeah.
we would have talked about or?
No, I mean, you know, the new single is on. Go watch the video, enjoy the music, support it. Crane Few just put out a project. It's dope. RG just put out a dope song, Praise. I'm very excited. I feel like there's a lot of dope music that's come out and on the way too. Many of my friends are working on things too, so I'm just excited to get to be a part of that. A lot of dope stuff in the works.
Do you listen to a lot of CHH on your free time?
Man, my music listening is all over the place.
Okay.
Um, Spotify did tell me that Christian hip hop was in my top genres for last year. Though, also, my Spotify Wrapped was also ruined by the fact that I'm around my kids all
Oh
the
yeah.
time. And that influences what I'm gonna put on and what times. But But yeah, like my music is all over the place. I go through seasons where I listen to more of this or that. Um, but yeah, I mean, of course, I'm listening to Christian hip hop, and but there's some seasons where it's like I'm only listening to this. I'll get stuck on stuff, especially when I'm learning something. That's a dope thing about streaming is you don't have to spend any extra money to dive in head first into a whole new genre or a new artist. It used to be like I found this artist and I got to pay $50 if I want to hear all five of these albums. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And now it's like, nah, it's for free. Now also, you know, you can't buy albums no more. So
Yeah.
as a music industry professional, there's things about that that are not the best that I think that I wonder how will affect music over time. But yeah,
Well, you
so
know,
my listens, I just love all music, bro. So I'm always listening to all kind of stuff, including Christian hip hop. And
yeah. Speaking of streaming, I saw something the other day, and I'm into vinyl records. I love buying vinyls.
yeah,
I saw
dope.
a stat the other day that said an artist that sells 100 vinyl albums makes as much as if he would stream 250,000 songs.
Yeah, bro, it's wild.
Buy vinyl, right? You got
It's
to be putting
wild.
out vinyl now.
Yeah, bro. I mean, it's like, and vinyl is selling more than CDs now.
Yep.
Um, I think there's stuff we lose in the experience. Now, look, I don't want to be like when I was growing up. I used to go to Best Buy after school and decided to hear my favorite rapper. You know, I don't want to be that dude. But there were experiences that I think are lost. You know, I did
Mhm.
like there was a different kind of excitement about something coming out, what it meant to like run to school, run to Best Buy after school. And, you know, there was a physical thing that you held in your hands, and
Yep.
because you had to buy it, there's a way you sat with music. That's one of the things that I do feel like I'm going to miss, and I have to just get over it. Is um, there's so much music, people don't sit with it like that. Like I would get a record, and it would be the only thing I listened to for months, essentially, because you just in it. There's a different, but now we it's like if you don't catch it real quick. People don't listen to albums that much anymore. It's playlists and playlists are dope. But man, there's an experience that is missed. It'd be like if people started watching, instead of watching movies, it's like I'm gonna just watch this scene and just watch a different. It's like, well, no, there's a longer, more comprehensive story and world you could live in an album that I get really excited about. But yeah, I mean, it's part of what it means to evolve with stuff. But I want to make stuff that's good enough that people want to rock with the whole album.
100%, 100%. You've been
Yeah.
such a huge contributor to CHH as a whole, like with everything that you do. I feel like so Rise for me, that's my favorite. That's one of my top 5 CHH albums of all time. And so
Thanks, bro.
just know, and I feel like a lot of people feel that way. That was a classic album. And so
Mm.
like anything you put out is gonna be gold, man. I'm gonna click it. I feel like most people hearing this interview are gonna agree. So I really appreciate everything you contribute to CHH.